We've all seen those pictures, the ones that just pull at your heartstrings, the whole idea of bringing home a rescue pet. And it's a beautiful thought, this amazing story of second chances and unconditional love. And right at the very core of that story is this powerful, powerful belief. You're not just getting a pet, you're saving a life. That's the phrase that fuels so many adoptions and gives hope to millions of animals sitting in shelters. But what does that actually mean? What does the day-to-day work of saving a life really demand from us? That's the question we're going to dig into today, moving past that perfect dream and into the real, sometimes messy reality. So, that first reality check, well, it often shows up the second you walk through the door. There's this super important adjustment period that honestly can be a real shock for both the new pet and for you. To help people navigate this, shelters and vets often talk about something called the 3-3-3 rule. Think of it as a simple but really powerful tool for managing your own expectations and just understanding what your new little body is going through. Let's break this down, okay? So in the first 3 days, your pet is basically decompressing. They might hide, not want to eat, or just seem totally shut down. They're just overwhelmed. Then, in the first 3 weeks, they start to figure out the routine. This is when their real personality starts to peek through. And yeah, they might even test a few boundaries. And then by the first 3 months, you're finally building real solid trust. They start to feel safe, secure, and actually part of the family. Now, this isn't some strict clock, but it is an absolutely vital guide. But beyond that initial adjustment, there's a whole other layer of reality we have to talk about. When you adopt, you're often adopting a bit of a mystery, especially when it comes to their health and their past. This quote right here really gets to the heart of it. The people at rescues do such heroic work, but a lot of the time they have very, very limited information. They're a bridge to a better life, not some complete archive of the animal's past. So it is so important to understand the limits of a shelter health check. They can do a basic physical, they can look for obvious symptoms, and give those first shots. But because of tight budgets and limited resources, they often can't run extensive blood work, fecal tests, or catch conditions that aren't showing clear symptoms yet. And what that means is that adopters just have to be prepared for some potential hidden conditions. For example, some cats can carry viruses that aren't immediately obvious. Plus, the stress of moving to a new home can actually hide or even trigger health problems. This is exactly why that first vet visit after you adopt isn't just a friendly suggestion. It is absolutely essential. Okay, so beyond health, one of the biggest challenges can be behavior. The animal you fall in love with at the shelter might not be the exact same one you have at home a few weeks later. And the stakes here are really high. One study found that aggression is the reason behind a staggering 27% of cats being surrendered to shelters. But here's the thing. A lot of what we call aggression is actually something else entirely. Learning to read a cat's body language is everything. Look closely here. A fearful cat, their ears might be flattened and pointing outward, and their body is crouched low. An aggressive cat's ears are flattened back against their head, and their back is arched up. But notice, both have dilated pupils. It's a subtle difference, but it's a critical one. So much of what people think is aggression is actually just profound fear. And this brings us to what might be the single most important piece of advice from the experts. Never, ever use physical punishment. It doesn't solve a thing. It's like pouring gasoline on a fire. All it does is increase the fear and anxiety that's probably causing the behavior in the first place. Now, all of these challenges that individual rescue pets face, they're really part of a much bigger and honestly tougher picture. The entire animal shelter system is facing a massive crisis across the country. Every single year in the U.S., about 6.5 million companion animals enter the shelter system. Just try to wrap your head around that number. Millions and millions of displaced lives. And of those 6.5 million, only about 3.2 million get adopted. That's less than half. The math is it's stark and it's unforgiving. Which, of course, leads to the most heartbreaking number of all. Approximately 1 million of those animals are euthanized each year. Many of them are perfectly healthy and adoptable, but the shelters are simply too full. There's just nowhere for them to go. So why? Why does this happen? Well, for cats, the number one reason is simply people having too many animals. For dogs, it's often housing issues, like a new landlord who says no pets. These aren't bad pets. They're victims of human circumstances that are often way beyond anyone's control. In some really difficult cases, euthanasia isn't about space, but about safety and suffering. It has a name, behavioral euthanasia. And this connects directly back to those difficult behaviors we talked about, that fear that gets mistaken for aggression. When those issues become unmanageable and pose a real danger, this is the impossible, tragic choice that shelters and sometimes families have to face. It is truly a last resort, and it's rooted in compassion. So, with all these hard truths laid out, where do we go? The point of all this isn't to scare you away from adoption. Not at all. It's to empower you. It's about reframing rescue as a deep, informed, and very real commitment. This quote from the Pet Professional Guild just says it all. The goal of a really responsible rescue is transparency. It's about finding the right home, not just any home. It's about making a match that is actually going to last a lifetime. So what does that path to a successful adoption actually look like? Well, first, it starts with managing your expectations. Remember that. Second, seek transparency. Ask the rescue all the hard questions. Third, you have to commit to being patient because you are earning their trust, and that takes time. And finally, never ever be afraid to ask for professional help from vets or trainers when you need it. Because in the end, rescuing an animal isn't just one single act of saving them from a shelter. It's an ongoing promise, a promise to see them through their past trauma, their health issues, and their long adjustment. It's a full-on commitment to their future. The real question is, are you ready to make it?